And welcome back to the Kenny and JT Show here on News Talk 1480 WHBC. We continue with our 2023 spring training coverage of your Cleveland Guardians. And joining us right now on the hotline is one of the outstanding pitchers for the Guardians, one of the young studs that they have in the bullpen. Could be a starter, jack of all trades when it comes to throwing that pill towards home plate. Eli Morgan joining us today. Eli, thanks for making the time. How's spring training going, even though it's early on?
Spring's been great. It's good to be back with the boys, seeing everyone again. Feels like just picking up right where we left off from last year, having a lot of fun. Everyone's looking good. We're starting up live ABs, got games going in a week, so rolling right along.
Eli, like Kenny said, jack of all trades. How do you stay sharp when you're preparing to come out of the bullpen and you don't know you could pitch on a daily basis? What's the differences?
You just got to be, a little bit strict with your routine and whatever that might be. There's no one way to have a routine, but having one and sticking to it while also being flexible with it is the way to get that done.
How were you able to mentally prepare for that? Making 15, 18 starts, I think it was, in 2021. Then you come this past season in 2022. They say, hey, we need you out of the bullpen. You say, okay. Take us through the differences as far as preparation, off-day routines, and then game day routines when, as a starter, you're going to pitch. As a reliever, you don't know.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start on game day. It's certainly a certain feel that you get out of the pen. Once that phone rings, you get an instant jolt of adrenaline and energy that you just sort of don't get as a starter. So the day of the start felt a lot longer than just the day of getting a call out of the bullpen, which I thought was more fun, just being able to hang out in the bullpen with the boys. And then all of a sudden phone rings and just from the ring alone, you're ready to go. And then in terms of preparation and stuff, it's not too different. You got to throw every day, just like you do as a starter. I would say the volume of throws that I make out of the pen daily is less than I was doing as a starter. I don't have to be built up to make 100 pitches in a game, 30, 40, that's plenty. So can focus on intent a bit more, trying to throw harder rather than, having my arm be good for 100, 110 throws.
Your changeup is amazing. And when your manager refers to you as a weapon, how does that make you feel?
That's good. That's what I want to get back to this year. I showed a good glimpse of that for the first half of the year and then had my share of struggles through summer and then figured it out at the end of the year. We've been talking about ways to keep the good going for longer, and that's that's the battle as a pitcher. We have the advantage in the game, and just trying to find ways to hold that through a long season. That is another change, is being in the pen. Like, the season does feel long because you don't have the 4 or 5 days in between outings. That also makes it really fun to show up to the field every day knowing you get a chance to play.
Guardians pitcher Eli Morgan joining us here on the Kenny and JT Show. And for people watching this on Facebook as well as the website, the numbers are at the bottom of the screen. They can see them for our radio audience. 5-3, 3.38 ERA last year, 72 punch-outs in 66 innings. Were you known as a strikeout pitcher coming up through the minors and that, or is that something now out of the bullpen you're trying to do more of because you can throw harder and those things you just explained to us?
Yeah, I think the strikeout numbers have been pretty, even keel throughout the minors. I think it was right around that, like 9.5 to 10 per 9 range. Hoping to bump that up this year. I think having a year of bullpen under my belt will help be able to generate those strikeouts more. I felt that some of my starter mentality crept into my outings last year. And as a starter, it was just, be efficient with your pitches, fill up the strike zone. Whereas in the bullpen, especially when you're in these, larger scenarios where one pitch can be the difference of the game, there are times where you can work around the zone more, be okay with walking a guy. And I think understanding that's going to help me a lot this year.
Eli, we were talking a little bit before this interview, and it just hit me how young this team is. The expectations last year weren't extremely high to win the division. You guys end up winning the division. Now a young team coming back, you got to defend the championship. How do you go about doing this?
Just by being ourselves. What we were last year was good enough to win it. It wasn't good enough to go all that deep in playoffs, but we think we have the right group of guys to build off. And we weren't that far. We were one game away from playing Houston. So seeing how well we did last year, we're just going to try to be ourselves again this year. And if everyone putting a good off season and improve just slightly, we'll be in a great spot to do that.
Not only did you gain the experience out of the pen in the regular season, also in the postseason, what did it mean for you to get an opportunity to be a part of a postseason run, pitch in the postseason, and get a postseason victory?
I mean, that's just what you dream of, playing this game. Growing up as a kid, that's what you go to bed dreaming of, and that's what gets you going in the weight room and your throwing program is big moments like that. Super thankful to have gotten that exposure, and I think having done it's going to help us a lot this year when we're ideally back in that same spot.
Tell us what goes on in the bullpen now that you're out there for the entire game. What are you guys doing? What are you eating? What are you drinking? What are you talking about? Or what goes on out there for the first 5 or 6 innings before maybe that phone rings and you got to flip the switch and focus on being a pitcher?
I mean, everyone has their own thing. I'd say the one common denominator is a lot of coffee, a lot of caffeine, which you got to pay attention to. We play night games, so the third cup of coffee at 9:30 at night doesn't always sit well after the game, but you got to be ready to go in there, so it's worth it. Snacks and stuff, I mean, it's late enough to where we're usually fed, but guys will be chewing on seeds or spitting gum, nothing too out of the ordinary. And then conversations, we just have a really good group identity down there, so the conversation just rolls really smooth. We're all really good friends, hang out on and off the field. I wouldn't say it's all that serious until it gets closer to that phone call time. The first 3 or 4 innings, goofing off a little bit, but still paying attention to the game, watching, and staying focused.
What's it like on the road when some of those bullpens out there and where you guys are warming up are real close to opposing fans in that? And we all saw what happened last year in New York with the Yankees and Miles, pretending to be Spider-Man climbing that fence out there.
Yeah, just depends on the place. There's some spots where you can sort of hide. Like LA, for example, we were pretty hidden from everyone. So even though it was like a packed stadium, we weren't getting too much slack from the fans. And then there's other stadiums, like Chicago, where, the fans can just walk right up the stairs and, be 5 feet away from your face, say whatever they want. It doesn't bother any of us. But yeah, it definitely depends on the place. Some of them, the fans get real close to us.
Eli, going back into last season, was there a point in time during this season where things clicked? You mentioned that trip out west. You guys go into the Dodgers, give them everything they didn't expect from you. Was there another point in time during that season where you guys were like, hey, we can do this?
I think that was a big one. Certainly there were other big series, when we beat the Twins after that long doubleheader with a 15-inning game. I think that sort of solidified us as being able to compete at any level, meaning playoffs, meaning against the best teams. But certainly that Dodgers series being so early in the year, being, definitely underdogs for that series. We were without Hosey for 2 of the games.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to come out of that series with a series that was huge, and I think propelled us for the second half.
So you're facing a team like that afterwards. Do they give you props, or are they like, we're the Dodgers, we didn't expect you guys to play like this? You guys gave them everything they wanted.
I don't listen to their media or anything, so I couldn't tell you really.
All right, for you then, for this year, and we'll let you go get your training in for today, what are you hoping to improve on from last year, Eli Morgan?
I just want to take my best self and be that for 6 months. I had a couple really good stretches last year and one tough stretch, and just having a year of experience, being up here for all 162 games, I think I'll have learned some stuff that'll allow me to prolong, feeling really good all season. It is a long year, but there's stuff we can do in our routines and daily work that helps us. And, just working with our pitching guys, with, the friends that I got in the bullpen, there's a lot of good information being tossed around this clubhouse, and I think I'll be able to put that to good use this year.
Eli Morgan, we appreciate the time here on the Kenny and JT Show. Best of luck this season. We'll see you down at Progressive Field.
Sweet. Thank you, guys.
There is Eli Morgan, one of the outstanding relief pitchers for your Cleveland Guardians, joining us here on the Kenny and JT Show. We'll get a break in, come back with more right after this.